All right, I just washed down back pills with red wine. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Shibuya.
Wow, you're still trying to do the whole thing where you come up with something new?
I'm just workshopping, baby. We're in year 7. I'm gonna keep things fresh. It's the 7-year itch.
Oh. Does that mean we're going to start looking at other podcasts? Maybe open up this podcast?
Yeah, great idea.
Trust me, as someone who's knows a little something about that, it's not a good idea.
Oh, really? Are you saying I shouldn't try to do as many podcasts as I possibly can in the next little while?
Look, it'll be fun for a while.
Maybe I could be really aggressive with scheduling recording sessions.
Look, it'll be fun, and you'll have some wild podcast experiences.
Yeah.
While you're traveling, you may find a few podcasts.
I bet it's like hard to leave some of those podcasts though.
Sometimes it can be challenging.
Some of those podcasts are like, you're a good host, we kind of want to keep you around.
It
and
seems
you're
like
I like this. I think I'm just gonna do this podcast, and they go but you're the best host we've ever had.
And it's like, that's just because I've been hosting for a long time. I've just gotten into the rhythm of hosting. I'm just like a host kind of guy.
Yeah,
but I'm really more of I'm just trying to do
we've been doing this podcast for a while, and we've never actually been hosted before.
Yeah.
It's kind of changed the game for us. Are you sure you won't stick around?
I'm really more of my guest host phase right now.
Yeah.
I just like guesting on other people's podcasts. I don't really want to be a long-term host for a situation right now. But
this all feels like a good idea.
Yeah. Maybe we should think about it for a little bit.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Until you find the right podcast.
Sure, yeah. Now's the time to find the right podcast.
7 years in.
7 years in.
You know what? You might realize that, hey, I've been doing this one for so long, but maybe it's just because you've been doing this podcast for so long, you don't realize that other podcasts could be more fun.
Well, it's not really about fun. It's about a thing that's fulfilling and rewarding in a kind of deeper way, isn't it?
Yeah, but maybe it could be more deep.
No, that's as deep as I go. That's as deep as it goes.
I mean, you've said that before. Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Hey, and everything's fine.
The studio has been in one place for a long time.
Hey, if you're wondering if things are fine, they're fine.
You could tell because we said it.
Yep, and
that's how you know.
Don't investigate further.
Nope.
I do kind of like throwing a thing out that they'd be like, well, things aren't fine. It's actually they're
fine. Actually, things are great right now.
now.
Things have actually better than they've been for a long time.
Yeah, baby.
I've got more power than I've ever had.
Well,
also, I'm happy and in a good relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
but more about the power thing.
I know the priorities is anyway.
I'm holding powers with a fucking tight grip right now.
Yeah, that's good.
And everyone fucking is on their knees around me.
Well,
and they will be. I'm the boss.
Yikes.
Hometown Hellions?
Yeah, baby.
Whoa, where's Gordon Ramsay coming?
Hang on. Before we do this, I wanted to do this last week, but you fucked me with the fucking Marvel thing.
Funny that you say that. No.
You fucked me with the Marvel thing last week, and I didn't get to do it. We haven't talked about all of the Superman Legacy casting.
And we never will.
News that came out. I was like, do not talk about Superman Legacy casting news. Specific coupon.
Yeah. I wrote one in.
But we've had a number of announcements.
Yeah.
So, first of all, what's his name? David Cornsweet?
Yeah, Cornsweet.
Cornsweet.
It's not Cornsweet, which is a more
Isn't it
normal...
Cornsweet?
Oh, I thought it was pronounced Cornsweet.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funnier.
Yeah. Yeah, to the window, to the walk, to the sweat drip down your stock.
Oh, whoa!
All my kernels pop.
Holy
corn sweat. Oh, corn sweat.
God damn it. He's back. God damn it.
David Cornsweet as Superman.
Yes.
Rachel Brosnahan, who is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, as Lois Lane.
Probably the best casting for Lois Lane I've ever seen. I don't think there will ever be
truly.
a better Lois Lane.
Sassy brassy. That's the way.
Oh, is that a thing that you like?
That's the way I like my Lois.
And etc.
Other casting. But then we also got castings for like other characters that are going to be in there. So, Isabella Merced, I think is her name, or Isabel Merced. She played the live action Dora the Explorer. She's going to be Hawk Girl.
Great casting.
Nathan Fillion is going to be Guy Gardner.
Okay, tell me how you feel about this.
Okay, listen. Nathan Fillion voiced Hal in a bunch of animated stuff.
Yeah.
I like Nathan Fillion in general.
Period.
Guy Gardner's such a piece of shit, but you can tell as soon as you put Nathan Fillion in there, be like, we don't have to take this character seriously.
Truly,
so,
but also you.
So I'm
you're
actually
gonna make him kind of an asshole.
So I'm actually okay with it. So I'm into that. And then I can't remember the actor's name, so you're gonna have to help me out here. But the guy that played
Edie Gathegi,
thank you, that played Darwin in X-Men First Class, is gonna be Mr. Terrific. And then they also announced. I also can't remember this actor's name, so help me out. But you know the bald guy he's from Barry and from Gotham.
Anthony Kerrigan.
Yeah, and he played the Mist on the Flash.
Fucking so
he's
good.
going to be playing Metamorpho.
So this is the casting for this has been insane.
Now, not all of these characters are main character. You know what I mean?
But still, the fact that we're going to see Metamorpho at all.
And there's a cool little comment that James Gunn made online where people were like, "Oh, he's just like setting up other movies or whatever." And, you know, there's probably a little bit of that. But he was saying his approach for this movie is, if I'm going to make a movie about Superman, but all of the side characters are just the Clark side characters, Lois, Jimmy, Perry, Mom, Pa, Kent, stuff like that, then you're not getting a complete picture, because the other side of Superman is how he interacts with the metahumans of the world, the other heroes and stuff like that. So it's cool to see this idea populating the world, and I love that James Gunn is not just ticking off all the big name kind of
not at all,
you know, like fucking Metamorpho. Like,
holy shit,
that's aimed right at me. You know, Hawk Girl, awesome, love that. Yeah, I mean, the Green Lantern thing is funny.
And it feels like
and then
Nathan Fillion
and Mr. Terrific in there too, like really, really cool. Just cool picks in general.
I think putting Nathan Fillion in as that character means that it's going to be played as a bit of a joke, and probably not seeing a ton of him in it.
Yeah. And although James Gunn did say that Nathan Fillion will be playing Guy Gardner in the DCU, meaning this won't be the only time we see him, which is kind of fun.
Interesting.
But at any
because
rate,
he's a bit of an older guy to be playing Guy Gardner, I think.
But I think it also means like the DCU's plans don't hinge on Guy Gardner as a character.
Well, exactly.
So it's like, that's okay.
Yes.
But at any rate, really exciting stuff. I all those castings look great. I'm excited about a movie about a young Superman, but the world is clearly populated.
Yeah, like he's not starting.
He's not like, I'm the only metahuman, and then they go like, you inspired us. It's just they're out there, and we're just in that world.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for that. All that news kind of made me go like, yeah, fuck yeah. But the big one for me, I don't know the guy playing Superman from anything.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything with him. But the Rachel Brosnahan one, I was like, it's so fucking perfect.
It's genius. Truly,
it's really,
so
really
good.
great. That's inspired.
I think David Cornsweet. I've really enjoyed him in the like horror movie that he was in, Pearl.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Loved him in that. He's really great. I mean, that Pearl's such a crazy good movie. Anyways,
I don't know it.
What's crazy about that movie is that so there were 2 horror films that this guy made back to back.
Okay,
and they're based on the same location.
But
one's in like the 1950s or like 40s, and one's in the 70s, and it's basically the same. You get the 70s one.
Is
first.
it like the same, like happening or monster or
it's
whatever?
The same family, And basically what it is like in the 70s, it's like this couple comes, or a group of like teens come to like film like a porno at this farm.
Sure.
And they film it in like a shack behind this farmhouse.
Right.
And the farmhouse is like owned by these really old people.
Right.
And then the next movie, Pearl, is about the old woman in the house, and it's her when she's young.
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting.
It's a really, really good like two-hander.
Oh, I'll have to find that.
They're fucking great. And
but he's in that.
Yes.
Okay.
And he plays like kind of like a Superman-y kind of like gee golly sort of guy.
Sure. Yeah.
So I bet it's part of the reason why he got the role for sure.
I love it. He also looks kind of shockingly Cavill-esque.
Mm-hmm. Slightly scrawnier, at least now. I don't know.
Oh,
if he's gonna bulk
but I just
up.
mean like in the face. He has like some similar kind of structure.
I still really wish we could get a barrel-chested Superman. I still really want that. Like, I hope that we one day get it. In my lifetime, I hope I get to see one.
You mean like a
chunky Superman?
You mean like a Tim Sale?
Yeah,
a big boy.
I would really love that. I think that like that the one thing we haven't really gotten is that like chunky farm boy vibe thing. We've gotten a lot of like clean cut guys, which is great, and that does feel like Superman. But I really still want the chunky guy thing.
I just want to. This is not a Superman one, but listen, we got Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. That's great. That's fine. But you know who would have made an exceptional Guy Gardner?
Who?
Is fucking Jared Kiso.
Who's that again?
He's Wayne on Letterkenny.
Oh,
he
yes.
would have been the Guy Gardner to end all Guy Gardners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he would have to do it still with the Canadian accent.
Yeah. Give your balls a tug.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
I'm
with
doing
that,
Shoresy, but it's still him.
yes.
Yeah.
With that, why don't we get into the episode?
All right, let's do it.
But first, I'm going to let my dog out. All right. Well, let's start getting into the questions. We got lots of them. What is Hometown Hellions?
We're talking about the Earth-based villains of Green Lantern this week. So a lot of these are like based in Coast City and that, but it's instead of it all being like aliens and other lanterns and that, Green Lantern has like a long history of just like other villains. He has a rogues gallery too that like weren't all space aliens and things like that. So
sure,
we're talking about them this week. We got a ton of I'd say a disproportionate number of questions that I slightly whittled down, and there
we're not putting it in 2 parts.
No.
Okay. So there's no other chance to listen to these questions.
You can't do shit to me now.
Stop. Stop
you
triggering
have
me.
no power here.
Stop triggering me. That's not fair. That's because I will use something else.
You have no power here.
I won't let you trigger me. You have no power over me.
No.
First question comes from Facebook.
Go to the face of the book. Go to the Facebook.
You son of a bitch. Comes from Braydon Ketty, who asks, what can you tell us about Dr. Polaris? Do you think he's an underutilized villain, considering he can control magnetism?
Yeah, I mean, the short version is yes. So Dr. Polaris is. There's been a couple of different versions. The most common, most recent version. His name is Neil Emerson, and he had this alternate personality inside him called Dr. Polaris that was evil.
Yeah.
He's got magnetism powers and stuff like that. The most recent version, I think he's completely kind of subsumed the Neil Emerson personality. Like he's only Dr. Polaris now, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, like, he has magnetism powers. We know from like Magneto, that's a
huge
big power. And Dr. Polaris has a decent power level too, you know? DC... Yeah, I mean, there must be like a flip thing in Marvel. Like, there's a power that maybe DC has more of that Marvel doesn't.
I wonder what that would be.
Well, maybe like speed. Like,
oh, sure. Quicksilver's got nothing.
He's got nothing, and there's not that many other like fast characters, I think.
That's really true. DC's chock full
of not just speedsters, but other characters that are as fast.
Yeah.
You know, Cheetah, Wonder Woman,
Superman.
You know, like. But DC, like, the thing they're missing is like a lot of magnetism powers. You would think that would be pretty well-trod territory.
Yeah.
But, there's Dr. Polaris, a villain of Green Lantern in the 20th century, and then there's Cosmic Boy, Legion of
Wow, is that
Superheroes.
it?
Those are the two main ones.
Sure.
They're probably not the only ones, but the two main ones. And I mean, when one of your two main ones is like pretty far down the tier list, like Dr. Polaris doesn't show up in a ton of comics, then yeah, I think it's fair to say underused. I've read some cool comics with Dr. Polaris. The most recent kind of one where he showed up was in Green Lanterns. And then he was also in like Justice League versus Suicide Squad. Like, he's been peppered through some things, but it's totally a kind of underexplored thing. It's a really, really cool power to use. Maybe part of the problem is that he's not necessarily a great matchup with Green Lantern. Like, the intersection of those things, you can make it work, but I don't know, it's not as interesting as
Professor X. Like,
well, like that, or, put Cyborg and Dr. Polaris up against each other, or put, like, there's probably some other combination that's maybe more interesting. But yeah.
So that is Dr. Polaris.
Baby.
Next question. We're leaving Facebook and heading on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
The superior platform that we really love how it's run.
Oh, and it's just getting better.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Every day we're getting better, baby.
First question comes from Evan Clark, who asks,
Evan Clark.
oh, even though. Is that what you were doing?
It's doing even flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in such a musical mood tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm feeling it.
You're fucking singing. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. I like it when Daddy sings.
Oh. Ooh. 525,600 questions.
Whoa, a lot of them. Well, let's keep going because we've got a lot.
How do you answer? Answer them all.
God.
From Twitter, from Facebook,
Instagram,
from Reddit, and Instagram.
God,
What a fucking just pathetic thing to do. Like, I made a Rent parody for the podcast.
Yeah, because we would never stoop to that
I
level.
would never stoop to that level.
God, I can't
ignore that I just did.
Yeah,
but I would never.
I really hope we get to teach podcasting at this convention.
How do you manage it?
Yeah.
Well, I think of the dumbest thing I could do at any one time, and I
do it.
And I do it. Yeah.
Evan asks, how can we reimagine Goldface in the modern times where yellow isn't a weakness? I want my gold boy back.
So Goldface, who you probably see him, well, you weren't watching later seasons so much, but he showed up on The Flash.
Oh, wow.
He was a
After
villain.
The Office?
Yeah. Yeah. Threat level midnight.
Oh, right.
No, Goldface was started as a Green Lantern villain. It's like an elixir or some sort of like radiation, and it basically covered him in this kind of radioactive gold. He eventually also had like a gold gun and stuff like that, but the basic premise was it was a man totally gold, so what could Green Lantern do to him?
Sure.
'Cause he's essentially yellow. But then he could like manipulate gold and do stuff like that. He was a character on The Flash on the TV show. I mean, the reimagining thing, I don't know that it's... I don't know that you need to. Like, in the comics, his first kind of version was, to exploit that yellow weakness thing. But I don't think you have to get rid... Like, the yellow weakness isn't retconned out. There was a yellow weakness, just broadly, for Green Lanterns. And it was because of the yellow impurity of having trapped parallax in the battery. And then once Parallax wasn't in the battery, that weakness was gone. But also, they knew how to overcome it because they could overcome fear. The connection to Yellow was about the fear entity and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that wasn't a piece of it. So you can keep that kind of history more or less intact and then just move on. Now he's just a character basically made of metal, can control metal, shoots metal,
Is it just gold?
It was mostly just gold, or it was goldish. It was some kind of special gold. It was there was a radiation thing to it, as I recall.
Because I'm like, gold has been is in more stuff now than ever because it's in technology.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, maybe part of it is that taking over
or shutting down
or disrupting machinery and digital devices and things or just fucking with people who have gold crowns and they're
rip them out of their fucking
rip them out of their but I mean I don't think you have to mess with that and reimagine. I think you can just be a guy who's kind of coded in / somewhat made of living gold.
I love gold.
That and just have Green Lantern deal with that, right? I think there's plenty to...
Maybe he like a smoking a pancake.
It's not like Green Lantern only faces characters...
Scar waffle?
My Vili Vashaki! It's not like Green Lantern only faces people that are have give him fear.
Mm-hmm.
You don't only face people that are your direct weakness. So there's no reason, I think, to throw Goldface out. But I mean, Goldface has faced the Flash, and because of the TV show, there's maybe a little bit more recent memory of Goldface being Flash adjacent than Green Lantern adjacent. But Goldface did kill, I think it's Tomar Ray, back during Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's either in Green Lantern or Green Lantern Corps. Goldface and some other Earth-based Green Lantern villains go with Guy Gardner to blow up some moon or something, because Guy Gardner thinks he's doing something to save the universe. He's actually doing the opposite. And he uses all these villains to do it because no one will help him or whatever. And in the course of that mission, Goldface kills Tomar Ray. So, a random kind of what you would think is sort of low-level Earth villain killing a relatively legendary Green Lantern, it kind of gives Goldface some weird space cred. There's probably some way to play that interestingly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tomar Ray's son went after him at one point or something, but I think you could play with Goldface.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right.
Although it's in poor taste.
Why?
To do Goldface.
Oh. Fair. What would that look like or sound like?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Oh my god, dude. I can't just do that on mic.
Yeah, Auric Goldfinger.
Smell my finger.
Yeah, his name is Goldfinger, basically.
Next question. Michael Bensit asks, which Earthbound villain that's not a Lantern foe would you like to face off against Hal in an arc? Reverse Flash, Livewire, Raish, or other?
All right, I'm just going to open this up slightly and say the question is about going up against Green Lantern. I don't know that it has to be Hal,
sure,
but I'd be interested, what's a character, an Earth-based villain that you think would be neat to see go up against a Green Lantern? Could be a specific one or just about the powers of Green Lantern, but who would you want to see? Kind of trade villain,
Yeah. Captain Cold?
Okay.
I'd like his ingenuity and his low-level crime type vibes to be fucking space guys.
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to see him have to try to get to that level, knowing that he's got a weapon that he understands but is not really used to crime at that level.
Right.
I like the idea of him having to try to work in that sort of space.
Sure.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
What about you?
Interesting. Green Lantern. Maybe Grodd or something like that. Use the mind powers. there's different ways to get at a Green Lantern, but essentially they have to be able to think to use their powers.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so to get a character like Grodd, or by extension any kind of psychic character, you're a Simon or a whatever, might be kind of interesting to see. But I think Grodd is always fun because there's the added level of like apes are dope, and also he's physically threatening in addition to having the superior intellect and the psychic power.
Yeah.
I think Grodd would be a fun one for me.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Has Mr. Mind ever gone against?
Oh, I mean, only maybe in... Well, what happens with Mr. Mind when he does the whole thing in 52? Are there any lanterns involved there? Kyle Rayner is adjacent to Countdown and all that stuff. I can't remember. Mr. Mind
That feels like a fun
Mr.
combo.
Mind might be kind of tangential.
Because that feels like
that.
tangential, but maybe never really addressed
Yeah.
by the Lanterns.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I like that. All right, next question from Armpit Patel.
No. His name is Arpit Patel.
Armpit Patel.
That's fucking disrespectful, man.
Yeah, because I've been so nice to the fans up to this point.
You might as well be doing Goldface.
Whoa, dude. Fucking, I have a little bit more tact than that.
I don't think you do.
Now let's hear from Armpit. Who asks, how would you take revenge on the yellow truck that killed Chip?
Oh, fuck. Yeah, Chip gets hit and killed by a yellow truck.
Because Chip's like a little chipmunk or
He's
something?
like a little like squirrel, like chipmunk.
That's also
Green
a
Lantern.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an alien. He's not like an actual chipmunk.
Sure, yeah.
But he's more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He gets fucking killed by a yellow truck. It's
fucked up.
Yeah, what would I do about that?
Put the truck in a trash compactor with the person inside it?
No, it's too good for them.
Oh, okay. What would you do then?
I'd probably like draw and quarter them.
Oh my god, the truck?
Yes. I tie a rope to each of its wheels.
Oh my.
Fucking
That's
rip that
fucked
truck
up,
apart.
dude. And the guy gets out and is like, "Whoa, that sucks. Guess I'm gonna have to get new wheels."
Yeah, and then I would do it to the dude.
Oh no, to his wheels.
Yeah, to his wheels. and then anyone he'd ever met.
Oh.
Just to make sure that the contamination was contained.
No, that's fair.
That kind of evil, it spreads.
Yeah.
And for good measure, maybe just anyone he's ever seen.
Wow. While in Goldface.
Yeah, while in Goldface. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't know. Here's my perspective on chipmunks in general. I don't want to hit and kill them, but if I'm driving and it comes down to me swerving dangerously or
Fair.
killing the chipmunk, kill the chipmunk. Like, I'll slow down if I can, but I'm not going to swerve myself into a dangerous situation to avoid hitting a chipmunk.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll kill the chipmunk.
Yeah.
So, I don't. Do you know what? Actually, I think the yellow truck guy, I think he's on the right side of history.
I mean, I don't know if it's exactly the
I
same
think he's on the right side of history. Next question.
Yes, sir. Thanks,
You're
Armpit.
goddamn right. Hey, what happens when your shoulder and your knee kind of get fused together in a weird way? You get an armpit patella.
Hey, he's on board.
I'm on board.
Hell yeah.
I won't respect any of you.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's not a racist thing. It's just that I don't like any of you.
I don't know. I think yours was racist. Mine was fine.
Next question comes from Mosaic Comics, who asks, Solomon Grundy and Vandal Savage both started as Golden Age Green Lantern villains and have gone on to become popular villains for the DCU overall. Are there any Silver Age Green Lantern villains that you think have the potential to transcend their Green Lantern status in the same way?
Interesting. I mean, yeah. So yeah. I don't think we think of either Solomon Grundy.
No, I think
or-
of more of a Batman villain.
I mean, certainly for people that maybe come to it from the games or more modern comics, or even like Grundy's in Long Halloween, I think, and stuff like that. And Slaughter Swamp is like in Gotham City, but what people don't remember is Alan Scott was in Gotham City.
Oh.
So, but Solomon Grundy started as a Golden Age Green Lantern foe, and the idea there was Alan Scott's power, the Starheart, was more connected to the like life force and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
And so his weakness wasn't the color yellow. His weakness was wood.
That's right.
Which made even more sense when he came out. No.
It's his weakness.
Boo. But Solomon Grundy, being this kind of like undead zombie from the swamp, had all this kind of plant matter in him.
Oh.
So he was sort of like right in the weakness bubble of Alan Scott.
Sure.
Vandal Savage.
And he had a rockin' body.
And he was so fucking sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge ass dick.
Yeah. Solomon Grundy, like slinging pipe on a Monday. Fucking. Vandal Savage, not connected to like a particular weakness of Alan Scott's, but an immortal caveman with super intelligence and whatever. They're both generally seen as these kind of like maybe broader, like
I think of them as both Batman villains more than
Vandal Savage, Solomon Grundy, I would say, has more of a connection to Batman.
Yeah.
Vandal Savage is like really like in the level of like DC villain.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
a Hawk villain, right?
I mean, there's certainly that, both in comics, but also the show really lined that up. But yeah, they've sort of like elevated to kind of more broad, more general villain. Solomon Grundy could theoretically go up against anyone. He's so for Silver Age Green Lantern villains, who do I think would be in a good position for that? So some of the ones that we're talking about today, there's Dr. Polaris, we already talked about. Goldface, we already talked about. There's the Shark, who is
not
King Shark, but a shark.
Yeah.
The Shark is a shark.
Oh, okay.
Let me be clear.
King Shark, half man.
Or
shark,
like
that's
demigod.
Demigod, yeah.
But the Shark is
just a shark.
A shark.
Okay.
There's Sonar, who is kind of like a Sonic's kind of bad guy, mostly with tech sort of things. I mean, Earth-based, you could say Star Sapphire and stuff like that.
Sure.
Too, but pretty tied to Green Lantern. I mean, really, based on our conversation that we've been having so far,
Polaris for sure.
Polaris feels like it. Magnetism's a big power. You probably need a couple of leaguers to team up to, I think the issue with Polaris has maybe been that it's been the dual identity thing, the Neil Emerson thing has been interesting, but I wonder if that's maybe held them back a bit. And Polaris has maybe a potential to be a bigger scale villain than he has been.
Totally.
Of those ones that we just listed, probably Dr. Polaris is in the best position for that. But also because like the connection to Green Lantern is, other than it being historical, it's tenuous at best.
Sure.
Other than just knowing Dr. Polaris is a Green Lantern villain, you go, why is he Green? And you kind of go like, well, So yeah, probably Dr. Polaris would be neat.
I would agree with that.
I'd like to see that character be more on, these big villain groups, Secret Society of Supervillains, or the Injustice League, or like these kind of things. I think that's good. I mean, he was a major character in whatever it is season of Justice League Unlimited. Dr. Polaris is like Lex Luthor's main rival on the Secret Society.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think that's kind of or a main rival of Luthor's. Yeah. And I think that was kind of just probably the most high profile thing that character's ever done. Really.
Truly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, let's get to the next question. Coming from the Lantern Cast.
They couldn't possibly be interested in this.
Yeah, what would they know about this?
Good thing we're doing this episode.
Unaccompanied. Who asks, Green Lantern's arcs bounce between space to grounded Earth stories and back. When they're on Earth, is the temptation to have Green Lanterns interact with their family, the League, or other supporting cast limiting the opportunity to truly develop the Earthbound villains? # bring back the aerialist.
Yeah. The aerialist. Okay, just quick sidebar here. The aerialist, as I believe, was like a circus guy.
Okay.
Who used tech to mimic circus abilities. Like I think he was like a slight acrobat, but he would use like, I think he had technology that would let him like trapeze with no trapeze kind of thing.
Oh.
Like he could do shit like that.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure his whole thing was just trying to like woo another circus person. I think.
We call them carnies.
Yeah, carny. Yeah. Okay, so the main question here is, when Green Lanterns come back from outer space and working with the Corps and stuff like that, we like to see, we want to see Flash and Green Lantern team up, or we want to see him check in with Green Arrow or whatever. Or, like, hey, we haven't seen him and Carol in a while, or things like that. Do those things take away from the potential to develop the Earth-based villains that have kind of just like, well, I don't know, when Green Lantern comes back, I'll do something villainy, like, do you think there's I think the question is trying to get at, why are the biggest Green Lantern rogues in space? How come none of the Earth ones have kept pace over the years?
Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're intergalactic space cops.
Yeah.
I think that,
but the closest one I can get is like Superman is fucking Superman.
Yeah,
goes to other planets and shit, but we still have Metallo and
sure, but Superman also works as a ground level hero. He can go into space, but that's not what he wants to do.
Yeah,
he only really does that when he has to do it. I think Green Lantern works as a space cop before it works as like a Earth cop. Like they have a sector that they run, and I think like they can't be bothered to fucking deal with like low level like Earth villains when they're trying to protect the galaxy.
I think you're kind of onto something here, and it's not that it never works, but there's something about,
if they don't threaten the galaxy or that like part of the galaxy, then why do they care?
I think with Superman, his powers are in him.
Yeah.
And then he uses them to help people. So sometimes it's catching people when they fall off a building, or sometimes it's, cool off that volcano so the city can evacuate, or whatever that shit is. And he uses those powers for that. A Green Lantern could do that. But I think there's something about it being like a tool, and it could do anything you can imagine. And if you just put like a cork in a volcano, or just like, did you guys get away? It feels like
back to being a volcano.
But it also feels like you should be doing more with that.
Sure.
I mean, you could make that argument to Superman as well, but I think it's maybe just, it's like an optics thing. You have the most powerful weapon in the most powerful tool in the universe. You could do anything you can imagine if you have the willpower for it. And you're going to like put a couple of handcuffs on a bank robber.
Yes.
I think that's maybe why Green Lantern always gets shunted to like teaming up back on Earth, because you get to see Green Lantern go like, nope, not today, bank robbers, and he solves it way too quickly. And then it's about, now that's done, let's catch up. Me and Ollie, or me and Flash, or
sure.
Whatever. Every time Green Lantern blows into town, and he's like, no superhero in today. Pew, 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 pew. Most powerful weapon, solved it. Let's go do something else.
His tool can literally do anything. Superman, all of his tools, though he's the most like maybe powerful hero,
right?
All of his tools are like physical powers.
Yes.
And so it's like at the end of the day, he has to like blast something, hit something. Like it's still like, as much as it seems like he has like a ton of powers, he's still limited by a few abilities.
Sure.
Green Lantern can make anything possible. So it's like he can solve things way quicker than technically Superman could if it's like low level crime.
Yeah, and maybe it's not a foregone conclusion, but I do think that is kind of the way it goes, is like maybe they just did too good of a job at the big space thing, and it just feels too small on Earth. And you go like, Green Lantern has to fight sonar.
Yeah,
I think he can just deal with sonar.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of that. I mean, the only character that really has like the power to take him on, Polaris. The Shark a little bit, because the Shark has some like psychic abilities.
But even Polaris,
telepathic
it's not like
abilities.
nothing that like Green Lantern has on him that is made of metal. So
No,
it's like,
but I mean, but think of everything that's made of metal, and then like, you know, he could just make a bunch of shit go wrong. Green Lantern's got to try to do all
sure,
of
but
it.
it's like when you play with like a kid and like you play superheroes with a kid, and the kid's like, yeah, but I've got a anti-metal dampener, and so you can't do that. And it's like, that's kind of Green Lantern's like, yeah, but I made this thing, so you can't do it. Well, then I made this thing, yeah, but then I made the thing that stops that.
You know, like there are lots of examples in comics of Earth-based characters facing off with a Green Lantern, and they find a way to keep it interesting
Sure,
and whatever.
yeah.
It's not impossible. But I do think that there's like an optics thing and a sense of scale, and it's like, this is Green Lantern like on vacation. This is a Ryza episode.
Well, he just fucks a lot.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to use the ship. You know what I mean? This is where I'm going with this.
Sure, yeah,
it's an episode of Star Trek where you don't get to use the ship.
Yes.
It's like Picard solving an archaeology mystery.
Sure, yeah.
That's
yeah,
Green
yeah.
Lantern on Earth. Is
Sure.
like, yeah, you've got this tool, but like not here and not for this.
Yeah.
You're not doing your normal use the tool adventures.
Sure, yeah.
Where the tool is the ship.
I like that.
Like that. That's the scale of it to me. I don't think it's like insurmountable, but I think that's the pattern that it's settled into. So yeah, I do think that those Earth-based villains have sort of fallen off. Like look at that list, you know?
Yes.
Or like some of the other ones that people sent in, like what's his name, like Baron Dynamo or whatever.
Sure.
You go like, who? And be like, oh, he's in an iron lung. He's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
The Doom Patrol, I mean, certainly with the TV show, has a more recognizable rogues gallery
It's true.
than Green Lantern's Earth villains.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are quick to Sinestro Atrocitus and stuff like that, but yeah.
Next question comes from Eric Warner, who asks, what did you think of Dr. Polaris's depiction in DC's Rebirth's Green Lanterns? I think it's the best version of Polaris DC ever put out.
He's relatively dangerous. I mean, it's good too to put him up against, they're not like full rookies, but to put him up against Simon and Jessica is good.
Sure, yeah.
Because again, that thing we were just talking about, the sense of scale, Hal just shows up and goes like, yep, fixed it.
Yeah.
You know, like I think, you know, Simon and Jessica narratively have to work for it a little bit more, which is nice. Yeah. I mean, I really wish I could pin down what is holding Dr. Polaris back as a character, because someone with that level of power, that amount of magnetism power, I sort of had some hope held out during that Justice League versus Suicide Squad thing, because Dr. Polaris was on that team. I was like, maybe we're actually going to like see some shit. It's a cool power. There's lots you could do with it. And then it just never materializes. And if I'm not mistaken, that version I think had like consumed the Neil Emerson side. Like I don't think he had a split personality anymore. I think he just was Dr. Polaris.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably a good step. It was a neat idea, and we've covered it. Like, how much can we do this sort of like Jekyll Hyde thing? You know,
yeah.
I think that's probably a good step, but I think maybe the other problem is I don't know what he wants.
Dr. Polaris.
Dr.
Yeah.
Polaris, for motivations, is pretty weak.
Yes.
It used to be like Neil Emerson was like a professor or whatever, so it was always like some slight, and he'd be like, you'll see my magnetism, like,
Sure, yeah.
but like that's not enough long term.
Yeah, and wanting tenure is not enough.
Even a good motivation wears out. Like, look at Mr. Freeze, right? Like Heart of Ice, we get this amazing new backstory from Mr. Freeze and makes him sympathetic.
Yeah.
This thing about his wife or whatever, and at a certain point you just go like, he either should have solved it by now or given up.
Yeah.
And eventually what they did is
She gets out and doesn't give a shit about him.
she gets out, doesn't give a shit about him, and then goes bad herself.
Yeah.
You know? And then gets killed.
Yeah.
So now all of like, his entire thing was for that. Now Mr. Freeze just has to live with that.
My idea is still so fucking good, I think.
That he should go with the Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
I agree. But my point is, even with a good motivation, you eventually have to move beyond it. You gotta deal with it. Black Manta, you know, even Black Manta's going on that journey, but he gets to do that through Jackson, through his son. I think the problem with Dr. Polaris is he's never had a great motivation.
That's fair.
in the first place. And there's really no, like what does he want? Like world domination? No. To be a professor? No. Like what does he want? And you kind of go like, nothing. Would he be a mercenary? It's like, I guess. Like nothing feels strong enough as a good, like people have stuck him in so many different roles. You know, he's in the secret society, or he's on a suicide squad, or he's, wants his old life back, or, whatever. And I don't think any of them have worked.
Fair.
And I think maybe that's part of the issue.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Next question means we are leaving Twitter and heading over to Threads.
Squibbity bop bop, threadity boo.
It's cool. It's really new and well thought out.
Hey, it's great. New and sticking around, I guess. Do you remember Sticking Around? Do you remember that cartoon?
I totally remember.
Hey, Scradley!
Oh my god. That's... It was so hard to watch that show.
Oh yeah. It's like nauseating.
So bad.
Yeah.
God, what a fucking awful.
I thought of that, but I couldn't think of the theme song. But I could think of I've been sticking around this town corner.
Yeah.
The fucking Counting Crows or whatever.
Weird.
Hey, man.
All right.
It's a musical episode.
One question from Threads is from Crypto Mite, who asks, which Green Lantern Earth-based villain should appear in James Gunn's universe? I gotta go with Major Force. After James does a live-action Emerald Twilight, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you might be getting slightly ambitious there. I don't know that we have to go all the way through Emerald Twilight to get Major Force, but let's talk about Major Force.
Sure.
So, speaking of characters swapping villains, Major Force is a Captain Atom villain.
Okay.
So Captain Atom, if you recall, he's like an Air Force pilot. They put him into this experiment where they like put him inside like an alien metal and then blow a nuke up on top of him.
Just to see what happens.
Just because. And then he disappears into the timeline, and when he comes back, he's living energy inside this containment suit made of that metal. Mm-hmm. Captain Atom. In the intervening time before he reappears, which is like 20 years, they go, well, we should test this again. And so they go to Clifford Zmek, who is he's like a disgraced, dishonorably discharged, some vague military, whatever, who's like also like a rapist and murderer, like convicted in that. And they go, yeah, should we give him like incalculable quantum power? And they go, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. And so they do the test again, but with a different proportion of metal and stuff like that. And Major Force pops up a year after Captain Atom pops up. He reemerges from the time stream. And he's insane. He's psychotic. For a while, he hides it, and he, does his, quote, duty. And there's a few storylines, like Superman, Batman, Public Enemies is a storyline where Major Force is working for the government, but he's a psycho.
Yeah.
But eventually, he goes after Kyle Rayner because some organization basically hires Major Force to do this. He's working for some organization, and they're like, we want Green Lantern's ring. And so he goes after Green Lantern, and Major Force is the one that kills his girlfriend and stuffs her in the refrigerator.
Sure.
Folds her body up, crumples her into the refrigerator.
Jesus.
That's Major Force.
Oh, okay.
So he has fought more than just Kyle. He fought Guy Gardner a few times. I think he attacked one of Guy's family members, too. And that was when Guy was had his like whole Vuldarian thing going on. So Major Force is he's kind of been pseudo adopted into the Green Lantern Rogues Gallery in the way that Deathstroke is sort of pseudo adopted into the Batman one.
Yes.
He would be interesting because he has this sort of like unimaginable power, and he's a psycho. He's kind of like a Carnage. You know what I mean? Just in terms of like level of power versus being a crazy, violent serial kill kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a Carnage kind of element to Major Force. Mm-hmm. Plus you get that like dark side of the military and the toxic masculinity thing or whatever. In the question, they said we should set up Emerald Twilight, so that we could get to Kyle having the ring, and then we could get Major Force. I actually think the only thing you need first is Captain Atom. And not even as a movie, but if you set up that project has happened, you could bring in Major Force. Maybe you see them both. Maybe they're both working for the military metahumans.
Sure, yeah.
But Major Force is going to be a problem then in some movie or Green Lantern thing or whatever. You get to face him. I think that's a cool idea. I just wanted to talk about Major Force there, but back to the question, what Earth-based Green Lantern villain do you want to see? We know there's going to be a Green Lantern in Gunn's DCU. We've got Nathan Fillion already, and they're going to make that Lanterns like TV show.
Yes.
So who would you want to see?
Ooh, I mean, speaking of majors, Major Disaster might be interesting.
Major Disaster is an interesting one. A kind of cool power too, like the natural disasters thing.
Yeah. It could be a really cool, like large scale, like kind of action.
Big enough that you need a lantern ring. And I think that's kind of a key to it, talking about that issue that we have with some of these other ones. That's a neat one. Major Disaster would be cool.
I mean, because like the Tattooed Man is not super interesting.
I like Tattooed Man,
really?
But I don't know that I want him as like a primary villain.
Yeah.
I think Tattooed Man's interesting in general, and it's a cool power. I think, although the question isn't who should be the main villain of a Green Lantern thing, it's who would you want to see.
Yeah,
Tattooed Man probably, actually, because
really
I like the idea of having those things and then they come to life and you can control, like, visually that's a neat power. It's one we haven't seen a ton in other movies, and if you think of, I know we as people that like read the comics or watch some movies and stuff like that, it doesn't bother us when Dr. Fate like duplicates himself. We don't go like, Dr. Strange did it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We don't, like, they've both been around a long time. Like, one, Dr. Fate came first, but people are more familiar with Dr. Strange right now. Whatever. We don't give a shit about that. But there is an element of, like, we should try to find some characters with some different abilities. That's why I'm partly excited that Metamorpho's going to be in there and stuff like that. So, Tattooed Man in that sense is really cool. And if you pick, I think it's the third Tattooed Man, is the one in Final Crisis, who, if you remember, he has a kind of like villain to hero arc.
Yeah.
In Final Crisis, right? He's with Black Lightning. He becomes an honorary member of the Justice League.
Same thing with Major Disaster, yeah.
Well, Major Disaster joins the Justice League Antarctica, which is the joke one with Big Sur and Gnort and shit like that. But
yeah, I'm surprised you didn't choose Giganta.
Well, Giganta's not really Giganta's a Wonder Woman villain.
Sure, yeah.
Right in my wheelhouse.
Well, that's why I thought.
But that's for another episode.
I think the character I would choose is...
Oh, man, we should do a big ladies episode.
I'm surprised we haven't.
Anyway. Elasta Woman, Giganta, Big Bart. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I think we chose next week's episode.
Sorry, just had to take a drink
I think
there.
my choice is who I'd love to see James Gunn tackle is Black Hand.
Black Hand's neat. Now, would you want to see the kind of original version of Black Hand where he had that? He had like a wand, like a device that would siphon power, like from the Green Lantern.
Because I really want to get to Black Lanterns, so I.
Well, yeah, I actually think that was like it's a cool evolution for Black Hand.
Yeah.
Cool to become this sort of obsessed with death thing, especially because the Black Lanterns consume emotions. It's kind of like a new version of siphoning the power. Like, it weirdly lines up with Black Hand's deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Hand, William Hand, like, before he was like the Black Lantern, and all of that encompasses, he just had this device. It was like a rod that would like siphon the energy from a Green Lantern. He kind of had like a parasite effect, but on Green Lantern's ring.
I want to see James Gunn do another zombie movie.
Sure.
to get him to do.
Black Hand's a great call.
Right? Like,
that's a really
that would be
one.
a great like second Green Lantern movie is like a fucking zombie movie. Fuck, that would be so good.
The only problem with the zombie thing.
Yeah.
You could do it and just that you're fighting the undead and you go like, oh man, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But if you want to do
kill a bunch of
if you want to do Blackest Night,
you
need a bunch
heroes.
of recognizable characters to come back as zombies. So you could do the other way too, where he has that kind of, he's connected maybe to Necron. I mean, Necron was kind of a Green Lantern villain, not an Earth-based one, but you could just make it kind of a death thing.
Yeah,
Green Lantern versus death, basically. And that's interesting on its own. But if you want to do like Heavy Wink, Blackest Night, you need it later, and you have to have some like real stakes to this universe where people die and things like that, where they can come back and it's at all emotional.
I mean, it would be fun to be able to do it in a way that it's like we're now kind of like toying because of the new Flash movie with Crisis, and like you could do it in like 10 years from now, and then you bring back like old DC, like Aquaman,
sure. Like a slightly different kind of take.
Yeah, make it more of like a feeling like a multiversal, like DC kind of thing.
Right. These are all the dead timelines.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do stuff like that too. Yeah. Yeah. Black Hand's a cool one. I like it.
Hell yeah. All right, let's leave Threads and head over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them. Yes. Damn, I wish I was your lover.
Damn, Daniel.
Back at it again.
All right, Instagram. First question comes from Eventobot, who asks, why is Hector Hammond so obsessed with Hal Jordan?
Hector Hammond. This is a big one that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was a Earthbound hero.
He sure is. He's human.
He doesn't look very human.
No, he doesn't, does he? So Hector Hammond is a pretty major Green Lantern villain. He's maybe the one Earth-based Green Lantern villain that really still makes it into the rogues gallery of
motherfucker's got a big head.
He's got a huge fucking head. He's a big old head guy.
Yeah. Look, I mean, me too, but different.
But Hector Hammond is in the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah. Oh,
that's Peter Sarsgaard.
That's right.
They change his origin.
I thought he was turning into Sinestro, but I see.
No, that was Mark Strong playing Sinestro.
That's right.
By name.
Yeah. Fair. I knew they were both in there.
But yeah, so Hector Hammond, you'll see images of him. He's got a giant head and a small body. Not totally like to the MODOK state.
Fucking goddamn that Ant-Man thing.
Still like a recognizably human body, but a similar kind of idea of like enormous
giant head, little body,
enormous head. So he gets like it's some radiation thing. It's like a meteor or something like that. The retcon of which is it's the same meteor that makes the gorillas of Gorilla City super intelligent. That wasn't the original thing. It was just there's always fucking meteors falling.
Sure, yeah.
Some turn you into Vandal Savage. Some meteors turn you into
some got a baby Supermans.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking Earth is like fucking Meteor City, baby.
Yeah. You may as well be Arby's because they've got the meat here.
Jesus Christ. Good Lord. But so it makes him like super intelligent, but it also gives him like a level of like psionic abilities and stuff like that.
Sure.
So Hector Hammond has this like engorged head or whatever. In the movie, they play his relationship to Hal as being like they were like childhood friends, and he's jealous that Carol always liked Hal, and they make it like a kind of triangle thing. I don't remember. I don't know if that's a thing from the comics. I think they're less personal than that.
Sure.
I think it's certainly in the Silver Age. I don't know what the retcons have been necessarily that way. Yeah, sorry. I was just looking up I was trying to maybe parse some of like the changes to the character over time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, in the Silver Age, it was that he kept exposing himself to the meteorite, and it would give him more powers. I think it even made him like immortal or something, and it made his head grow huge.
Sure.
In a later retcon, it had something to do with like an alien invasion, and or that exacerbated it. He got like experimented on and some shit. But yeah, I mean, he has mind powers and that sort of thing. He's just got a real hate for Hal Jordan, like a kind of good old fashioned villain hate.
Yeah.
He's extremely powerful. Hector Hammond was a villain in Action Comics or in Superman during the New 52. He went up against Superman.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as famous as a Metallo or as Mr. Freeze, or insert a bunch of characters there. But other than like Sinestro, Atrocitus, Star Sapphire, like the kind of contemporary big Green Lantern things, Hector Hammond is like one of the biggest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a cool like concept, I think.
And there's a great couple of issues with Hector Hammond in that Morrison Sharp Green Lantern run.
Oh, okay.
With some like just outrageously good art.
I mean, Sharp.
Fuck, it's so good.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, Hector Hammond.
All right, next question from Robbie's just this guy.
Yeah, don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
That's right. Who asks, did any of the Green Lanterns inherit Alan Scott enemies? Or does Solomon Grundy need a yellow suit to step up to some galactic cops?
Yeah,
Aglab.
I see what we're saying.
All Green Lanterns are bad.
Let's see. Some Green Lantern, Alan Scott Green Lantern bad guys. There's Harlequin. There's Rosenthorn. Icicle.
Okay.
I think Green Lanterns maybe kept fighting Icicle. Well, Jade certainly did. So Jade is Alan Scott's daughter, who herself became a Green Lantern, but like as part of Infinity Inc., like the team of like Justice Society kids, they fought like Icicle Jr. and stuff like that. So that's not quite the same question because that's like a legacy thing, kind of in the direct Alan Scott line. Green Lanterns have gone up against the Vandal Savage and stuff like that over time, but no, for the most part, it's not like a huge roster of Alan villains transferring over to Hal. There's a bigger tradition of Hal villains becoming John villains, becoming God. Like Sinestro. Every Green Lantern's got to fight Sinestro at some point.
Of course.
The Manhunters. Every Green Lantern's got to fight the Manhunters at some point. Krona. Every Green Lantern's got to fight Krona.
Fair. There's a handful for sure.
But those are all space ones, on Earth, different Green Lanterns have to fight Dr. Polaris. Different Green Lanterns have to fight Hector Hammond. But there's not the same kind of it's not quite the same as what this question is asking. So the answer is basically like no, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, next question comes from Mara in Iowa, who asks, what's up with the Shark? I don't know anything about him. How is he similar, different than King Shark? He's a bit wacky looking.
The Shark does look weird because he's got like a pink head and like a purple body. The weird thing with King Shark is a demigod. His name is Nanaue. He's the son of a shark god and a human. That's Nanaue. The Shark, who, for clarity's sake, is a shark, is
like, how is he a villain? Like, is he smart?
He is a regular shark.
Okay.
That gets irradiated in some crazy sci-fi way to being a kind of like humanoid shark.
Okay.
Who is very smart, has telepathic powers, but has all of the sort of insane frenzy bloodlust of a shark.
So not that different than King Shark.
I mean, how dare you?
You see one shark, you've seen them all. They all
I'm
basically
pretty
the same.
sure the shark is I think he might be immortal.
Oh.
Or like indestructible, or like he has some sort of insane power level.
Well, that's scary.
But he has like psychic powers. King Shark doesn't have that shit.
Oh.
The shark can like the shark can make like illusions and can induce fear and shit like that. With good for a Green Lantern villain, you know. I'm just gonna see if I'm missing any key powers there. But his design is wacky. He's sort of silly looking. Let's just scroll down here. What do we have? Got that. Yeah, he can swim. Yep. Psychokinesis, telepathy, fear projection. Oh, size alteration.
What?
Yeah, with enough fear and willpower, the shark can increase his size. Oh, yeah, you could shoot, like, energy and stuff, like psychic energy.
Sure.
But, yeah, it's because there was some, like, it might have been another fucking meteor for all I know. I truly don't remember if it's a meteor or not, but basically a regular, like, tiger shark turns into this thing.
Oh, wow.
As opposed to being already a humanoid shark or a demigod or anything like that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's like millions of years of evolution happen in. It's like that episode of Voyager.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It happens real quickly, and this tiger shark becomes this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you got me.
You remember the episode of Voyager where the Paris and Janeway salamanders fuck each other?
Yeah. Or
they never speak of it again.
Yes. Or the New Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Is that shit happening there?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it. It's not out on digital yet.
I know. Well, it is if you know
it's not
how to get to it.
It's not anywhere legal.
Next question comes from Jack Stonewall.
Oh my God.
Who asks, what would the Tattooed Man comic look like? The story of villain to hero?
I love a villain to hero thing, and that specifically is the third Tattooed Man. The Tattooed Man in general, control his tattoos. He's the first one. Oh, hang on. The first one, the tattoos were. I feel like the third one, the tattoos had some sort of like voodoo thing.
Oh.
Or the first one, they were like a curse or something else magic. Like there's always some kind of thing to the tattoos.
Sure.
Or he got the tattoos like magically or something.
Or he woke up in New York and he's covered in them and they all solve different like crimes.
Yeah, it's Blind Spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. You think I don't know Blind Spot?
Oh, I knew you knew Blind Spot. You love a mid TV show.
I do love a mid TV show.
And looking at you, NCIS, all of them.
Hey. Yes. But yeah, I mean, that third one in particular, I love that arc in Final Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because the Tattooed Man has he feels so misunderstood in that. You know, he has this power and he doesn't know how to do right with it. And so he kind of falls into this like sort of cycle of just being a villain.
Sure.
Until he's called upon to do something bigger than himself or protect his family or things like that. And he obviously steps up to the plate. And I like that in the way that we keep coming back to saying what we like about the Rogues for the Flash.
Yeah.
Tattooed Man fits right into that fucking category. But at the same time, his power is kind of wild. In a way, it's almost like a Green Lantern power.
Oh.
You know, it's restricted to the tattoos he has on his body, but he's essentially animating things he can imagine.
Wow.
And controlling them. And in this kind of sense where, like, they're not constructs, they're vaguely physical, but kind of not really, like...
Sure.
You know, that shit is kind of, like, cool and interesting, and I think what might be neat is... What might be interesting in a Tattooed Man comic is trying to explore something along the lines of how does he... I get the sense that Tattooed Man never wanted to be like a hero. And I think even with the Final Crisis thing and stuff like that, that is true. That idea of like strapping on a mask and going out and like, I'm the hero now, I'm going to go on patrol. Like that's not his gig. But instead of, we see lots of comics about someone that gets a power and they're sort of vaguely bad. Every once in a while I knock over a bank or whatever.
Sure.
But seeing a comic about someone that gets a power and every once in a while they're vaguely good is mostly uncharted territory. Because normally when someone's good, they're like, I commit myself to this cause or something. But we need to just see someone live with powers, do a little bit of good in their neighborhood, accidentally get swept up in something bigger, but then just return to that life. You know, like,
I mean, Captain Cold, you get a bit of that.
You only ever see that. I know the Tattooed Man also counts as this, but I was going to say you only ever see that when it's this person's normally a villain, but for this arc, they're going to help the hero.
Sure, yeah.
Technically, the Tattooed Man also is that because he started as a villain. But if you took his book and you just treated him as the villain days are over, we're starting from good, but he only ever just veers in and out. You know, he's not going to suit up with a team. He's not he doesn't have a cool leather jacket in the closet. I'm going to do it like a Luke. Well, I mean, Luke Cage is a bad example because he's like a full hero in the comics. But in the way the show kind of did it, where he's like,
I don't want to be a hero.
He's just wearing a sweatshirt and helping the barber. In that kind of way, I think there's something neat for Tattooed Man. Tattooed Man there, where it's like really contained to a neighborhood in the way that like characters like Daredevil and that kind of can be. So he's not saving the city. He's just looking out for his block or his, his community or whatever that is. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, who's that black lightning character? Is that also a tattooed guy?
Wait, which one?
Oh, who's the gigantic, like, was a villain, sort of a hero? There's a black lightning character that was like that.
Oh, really?
He's just like that too.
He was big?
Yeah, but is he tattooed too?
On the show?
No, the comics.
Are you thinking of the Tattooed Man from when he and Black Lightning were together in Final Crisis?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I think that's we've been talking about the same guy the whole time.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. Nice. I love that.
More of that. All right, next question. Means we're leaving Instagram and heading out over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
From Just Takes One Bad Day, 725
and counting,
or it's like just takes one bad day, 725 times in a row.
Yeah. If I have one bad day, 725 times in a row, I'll be the Joker.
Yeah. Then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Who
you get to 724 and then you have one good day and you go, all right, reset.
All right, good. Glad we didn't get there.
I'm fine.
Everything's fine. But you fucking
dye your hair brown again.
725 more.
Yeah.
You're fucked. Why is Solomon Grundy no longer considered a Green Lantern villain? I love his stories when fighting people like Batman, but I can see real potential if he were to face a character like Jessica Cruz or even Kyle Rayner.
Listen, some of these characters, it's just fun to see them matched up with anyone. I don't disagree that I'd like to see, Jessica take on Solomon Grundy or something, but at a certain point, those are more just, it's cool to see it.
Yeah.
And less about that he's like intrinsically tied. And, so Solomon Grundy, like I explained, he's tied to Alan Scott because Alan Scott's power was more about it was more connected to like life and plant, so his weakness was wood. Solomon Grundy comes from the swamp, shit like that. Solomon Grundy gets sort of adopted by the Batman mythos because Slaughter Swamp is outside of Gotham. Alan Scott operated in Gotham. Mm-hmm. So that's how that kind of transition happens. But there's no, other than the quote heritage of it, there's no reason for subsequent Green Lanterns to have an inherent connection to Solomon Grundy. Their connection with Alan Scott is tenuous.
Yeah.
Their powers aren't the same. They're Alan Scott has his own lineage through Jade and stuff like that. I know Jade then becomes also a Green Lantern, but there's no real reason for the question is kind of like, oh man, why did they lose Solomon Grundy? But I actually think it's more of a case of Solomon Grundy is such a good character that he stayed around even when there was no reason for the new there was no reason for the new Green Lantern to pick him up, so someone else picked him up. It's like when a network drops a show and someone else saves it.
Sure, yeah.
That's kind of what happened with Solomon Grundy. Now, you could absolutely make stories where Solomon Grundy fights any modern Green Lantern, and I'm sure you can make it interesting and cool. In the way that you I like when people kind of swap villains and that, you know, like Count Vertigo shows up in Wonder Woman, shit like that is kind of fun for me. But Grundy almost makes more sense with Gotham in some ways.
I think so. It feels like that gothic-y kind of thing.
And that idea that like the city is sick. Like remember when we read Gotham by Midnight with the Spectre, and the whole idea of that was that like Gotham is like built on the bones of the Miyagani people. So the city is spiritually ill.
Yeah.
Like the reason Gotham's such a shithole is because it has this kind of supernatural ick on it. Totally. You know? I think Grundy fits in right fucking there. I fucking love that shit. You know, a really great Grundy pairing that, you know, is in the Justice League cartoon. Hawk Girl and Grundy. So Grundy is sort of this like, you know, he's a bad guy, but he's big and lumbering. He's sort of misunderstood, like a Hulk kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Grundy no understand kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Hawk Girl, when she's sort of kicked out of the League and she's dealing with being a traitor to Thanagar and a traitor to the League, traitor to Earth, trying to find her way, she kind of develops a sort of kinship to Grundy. Grundy is brought back to life by like horrible arcane magics, and only Hawk Girl with her nth metal mace can dispel the magics and kill Grundy.
Oh wow.
So she has to like put down her friend, who's not even really recognizably her friend anymore. They made a great fucking story out of it. It's fucking heartbreaking. It's so goddamn good.
Wow.
It's a Solomon Grundy story. It's wild. But that's Hawk Girl. So you can put Grundy with any character and find a way to make it interesting and good. But there's nothing inherently tied to Green Lantern anymore.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. All right, let's leave Reddit and head on over to the Discord. That's known as the Doxcord. The Doxcord.
Don't fucking rush me.
I'm not. I'm just asking you to do the thing that you always do. Like as quick as you do, like Instagram and things like that.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, well then do that.
If you would let me.
I'm allowing you. Here's the space.
When I find my scored in docks of trouble, Mother Doxcord comes to me, speaking docks of scored dumb. Doxcord B.
Doxcord B. Look at you.
And though they may be Doxcord, there is still a dox that scored will see.
Singing docks of Doxcord.
Doxcord B.
Doxcord B.
Doxcord B. Doxcord B. Doxcord B.
Singing docks of Doxcord.
Doxcord B.
Doxcord B. Fuck yeah. God, we're good.
Nice. I should just go through the Beatles catalog.
I mean, you've never done that end of the thing you could totally do, which is every time just do one artist.
It's true.
But you try to...
I'd like to be Doxcord the sea.
In a Doxcord.
Pussy's garden in the docks.
Hell yeah. Doxcord.
I get docks with a little scored from my friends.
Oh. Is that Beatles?
Getting by with a little help from my friends. Yes, that's the Beatles.
Oh.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I don't even fucking like the Beatles that much.
Doxcord. I need some Doxcord.
Right.
Doxcord.
It's been a Doxcord night.
Oh, I mean, that's just...
And I've been doxing like a score.
Yeah, that's just an easy one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's really
What was the one that made Charles Manson kill all those people? Doxcord!
Yeah. Helter Skelter. Yeah. Doxcord. Yeah.
Doxcord. Don't dox it bad.
Take
a sad score and dox it better.
Remember to dox your
wasted
score.
like 8 of these this episode.
Yeah, because you can't just do that.
No, I'm in a mood, baby.
I can tell, and I'm here for it.
While my Doxcord gently docks.
Yeah.
I look at the scored and a dog's it's scored in.
While my dog gently squats.
I don't know ducks.
I don't know school. Yeah. And other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
All right. First question comes from Big Bear, who asks, is there a specific reason why the shark decided to go after Hal Jordan? And how come he was so obsessed with going after the lanterns despite constantly being forced back into his original shark form?
If I'm remembering properly, because the shark could kind of induce fear, the thing that drove him to Green Lantern was that he sensed that he was without fear.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's the Green Lantern thing.
Sure.
Right? Or it was. It's slightly more nuanced now, but it was always, supposed to be without the man without fear kind of thing. Well, it's Daredevil, but you know what I mean.
Sure. Oh my God. And then did Daredevil yellow? Whoa.
So I think it was like, the shark has like fear vision, and then he goes like, what's that spot?
Yeah.
I'm curious about that because I can't seem to do anything there. And so I think it became a thing like,
some say that spot doesn't even exist.
Like, I'm going to give you fear, you know? Yeah, the F spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let alone further in the alphabet. So
literally one other letter.
Oh God. Who's got the time?
Yeah. I quit at F.
I found the F
I can barely F.
The F spot. You just mean like the hole.
You expect me to go all the way up to G? I can barely F as it is.
I finally found the F spot. You mean the hole. Oh God.
What's an S spot? That's the S spot.
But yeah, I think that's the attraction for the shark for Green Lantern.
Sure.
It's a challenge. I don't want to say point of pride, but I think it's like more primal than that. I think it makes the shark angry that they're not just immediately afraid.
Oh, sure.
So I think there's a sort of like, I'll fucking get you. Like, there's a challenge there.
And it just happened to be around the time that Hal Jordan was doing his
and
shit.
it's like Coast City. It's like he's like off Coast City, and so who's around? It's always that kind of shit.
Fair.
Yeah.
Next question from Holodeck Janitor Butt.
Oof, rough gig.
Yeah, truly. I do like the concept that that's how they like run the
replicators.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been unspoken, but if you think about it, it's the only way it works.
Yes.
Especially on a ship like Voyager where they're not doing resupply.
It's like, where does the DNA come from and stuff? Yeah.
Well, but it's just like you're just breaking down.
Gen-
DNA is just molecules, man.
Yeah.
You just break anything down at the atomic level.
So
you can rebuild it into anything else.
It's just cum and shit.
Just a bunch of cum and shit. And like, hey, guess what? Now it's a casserole.
Yum.
Bon appetit. Now it's tea Earl Grey hot.
Yeah. So it was really just like their first meal over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's sort of like a deconstructed human centipede. I've prepared for you tonight a deconstructed human centipede.
You'll have to put your asses to your own mouths.
Yeah. Yeah. Face down, ass up. That's the way I make my dinner.
Yeah. All right. Butt asks, when Major Force was introduced in Captain Atom, he was initially presented as a horrific psychopath with incredible power. As the book progressed, the writers portrayed him more as an ally of Captain Atom and gave his character a lighter, more comedic tone. Why do you think Ron Mars chose to write Major Force with his earlier personality traits and have him murder Alexandra DeWitt?
I mean, I won't speak for Ron Mars, but the answer almost certainly has to be because that's the more interesting version of that character.
Truly.
Like we talked about it on that Captain Atom episode with Butt. Like the thing that fascinates me about Captain Atom as a character is the balance between the superhero wing, which is always outside of kind of structures of law, and then being a military man.
Yeah.
You've got duty, honor, these things that are taught and ingrained in that, but then there's also what's right, and they don't always line up. And it's, do you go only where you're told, only when you're told, or do you do what's right, even if it's like there's interesting dynamics and character things and politics at play in a Captain Atom book. when you add the layer, like the kind of Full Metal Jacket psychosis layer to Major Force, now you're exploring even more like strata, even more like depth of the military complex. You know what I mean? Like Captain Atom as a concept is like a few good men. Do you do a bad thing for the structure of the thing? Do you keep rules in place but do a bad thing or whatever? Captain Atom is a few good men. Major Force is Full Metal Jacket.
Sure.
Those are the two kind of approaches to it. To make Major Force, I like the idea of Major Force hiding it. You know, being the good soldier, but like it's just under the it's just, you know, one bad day 725 times, and he goes full fucking pile. You know, like that shit is interesting. So I don't know all of the motivations for Ron Mars to do that, but fundamentally it comes down to the most interesting version of Major Force is the psycho.
Yes.
Someone that has to have the outward, but still like the outward traits that the military likes. Like, oh, he'll like listen, like until he won't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's like, maybe we can use it. There's always that. Every movie is always like, maybe we could use that. Like, if we could just point that aggression, what a great weapon he'll be.
Yeah, the Raptors will be great if they can do what they say.
Yeah. Indominus Rex.
Yes.
You know, like all of that kind of shit. So, yeah, it's just, I mean, it must just be because it's a better version of the character than like a more comedic thing. Totally. But I do like the idea of him hiding it. Maybe being an ally with Captain Atom being like, well, maybe he's, you know, maybe there's hope for him. Because they kind of just have to deal with him. Major Force, like Captain Atom, is just living energy. You can't kill him.
Wow.
Like, so, and he's super powerful. He's hard to contain. So, if there's a window or a glimpse of like maybe he's making a face turn, you go like, God, I hope. You know what I mean?
That's more interesting than
that, and that's interesting to keep people on their toes. And then he's got this, obviously, even if it's earnest, you know, something will just make him snap. And then that's way more interesting. It's really cool.
Totally. All right, last question from Spectre JK, who asks, does Black Hand still count as a terrestrial GL villain, or does his involvement with the Black Lanterns prevent that? Do you think he could work as an effective villain without all of the Necron stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, this is we give Jeff Johns a lot of shit on the show, but a thing that Johns is fucking great at is finding a sort of reclamation project from the Silver Age and giving them new relevance. Black Hand is one of those reclamation projects. Like we said before, William Hand, he used to just have a device that siphoned Green Lantern power.
Yeah.
It starts with some like a sort of topical thing, like, well, he's got a color already associated with what would black be. We've been doing the emotional spectrum. What's black? Death, you know. And then to take the idea of like siphoning power, be like, well, the dead, the Black Lanterns will eat emotion.
Yeah.
Because you see all through Blackest Night, right? When they're looking around, they see people in kind of like this emotional spectrum.
Sure.
And that's why they come back and use memories and like talk to people, like to elicit emotions so they can consume it and raise their power level.
Totally.
All of that's a great reinterpretation of siphoning, that original siphoning energy kind of thing. For me at this point, I mean, I don't have a ton of like nostalgia for the original William Hand. So that's part of it, context. And two, it's just such a good fucking, like, Blackest Night is so fucking good.
Yeah.
It has no business being that good.
Totally.
And I just like Black Hand like that. Even post Blackest Night, when we see it, like in the early New 52, we see Black Hand in with like the Indigo Tribe and that, and there's some Black Hand stuff there. Or I think he showed up like through like Lights Out and like some arcs like that. I like him. I like him like this. even if he's only on his own, he doesn't have the Black Lanterns or whatever, but he's the one Black Lantern. I kind of like him like this. I don't know that means he's always tied to Necron. You know what I mean? Necron's big in Blackest Night, but Necron is he's just stuck in his like limbo dimension kind of thing right now, right? Like the dead zone or whatever they fucking call it. Black Hand, for all intents and purposes, whether his power is tied to Necron or not, is just like a force of death out there in the universe by himself.
Yeah.
And I think that works. It's not like he's constantly like checking in with Necron. Like Necron's not like the Emperor for him anymore. He's not like giving updates.
Sure.
So I kind of like Black Hand like this. Like I don't think I would want him to go back.
Does he count as a terrestrial villain still?
I mean, he's from Earth. I get the point. You know, we haven't really talked about Star Sapphire this episode either, or things like that. Or even like Dexstar. Like, there's lots of characters that originate on Earth and go do other things. Yeah. I mean, maybe at this point he's not as much anymore. But I also just kind of like the idea of like you just see him, he's just sitting in a cemetery, like talking to corpses and shit. I don't know. I think he's still kind of fun. There's there's fun to be had. He had his big event, I'm the bad guy now kind of thing, and now he gets to go back to his.
Hey, look at me.
Different villains.
I'm the bad guy now.
Different villains get to do that. You know what I mean? You swoop in, you have your big moment. I'm a big villain in this event, and you go like back to where you were. And
totally.
He had his moment. I think it's fine to kind of put him back in the roster again. You know,
feeding you pasta and lobster.
Nice. I don't know what it's a reference to.
TikTok thing. I got a white boy on my roster feeding me pasta and lobster.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
It's a song. It's okay. Anyways, that was the last question for this week, which means
holy shit.
We want to hear from you. Send us questions for next week's episode.
So it's just being decided as
it's not giant ladies
as we speak. It's not giant ladies, but trust me, that's coming.
It or me
and me.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I accidentally made this poll run for too long.
Well,
wherever it is at the end of tomorrow, we'll decide what it is. The Golden Age patrons are voting about different eras or like style of stories. So next week's episode will either be about post-apocalyptic stories, Arthurian stories, Victorian, like Edwardian stories, or futuristic stories.
But most likely it's going to be.
Well, the current lead is Arthurian stories.
Ooh.
Which is kind of neat.
Shining Knight, baby.
Shining Knight, Etrigan, Madame Xanadu.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the Merlin. There's like...
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of shit there,
unless you want to assuage the current polling systems.
I mean, there's only so many of you out there, but vote. Golden Agers.
Yeah, double vote. Send in your fake ballots.
Can't double vote.
Do the mail-in ballots.
No, those aren't allowed.
Yeah, you can send them to me.
Yeah, and you gotta register before you vote.
Yeah, as a true Dr. DC fan.
Listen, I just want to stop fraud.
Yeah, of course.
I've also gerrymandered the vote, so some of you can only vote in certain districts. A lot of you are voting in the Arthurian district.
Yeah, so it's either you want that or you don't want it.
Hey, listen.
Anything.
I don't make the rules. I just make the districts.
Which is making the rules.
Well.
All right. Well, send in those questions when that becomes available.
Yeah, you'll see me post the call for questions tomorrow. Yeah.
Also, you can reach out to us through our various social media platforms.
Dr. DC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Dr. DC on Twitter. r/Dr_DC on Reddit. You can send us an email, drdcpodcast@gmail.com. You can give us a call on the doc phone, 208-917-3238.
That's 208-917-DCEU if you're nasty.
Dr. DC on TikTok. I'm just fucking looking at nothing,
giant women.
Looking at nothing in particular.
No. Daddy?
I can't tell you what's in my feed right now. It's too telling. Fuck, bail me out. Oh, we have got a website, drdcpodcast.com.ca. Give us 5-star reviews. You can send those in. If you send them on Apple Podcasts or on Facebook, we'll get them right away. If you give us a 5-star review anywhere else,
Just take a screenshot. Send it to
Take a
us.
screenshot and send it to us. We fucking love that shit. Support us on Patreon. Patreon.com. Sorry. I could have sworn that you cashed in a coupon because I'm doing a lot of fucking heavy lifting right now.
You're just going. I just put it in the
So
corner
at
and
any
see what
rate,
happens.
since I'm doing this, support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/DrDC.
Yeah, you've got a new tier coming.
There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Discord, our awesome Discord fan community. At the $5 level, you get our bonus episode every week, the Double Dose.
Yeah.
And at the Golden Age tier, there's theme polls, there's extra episodes, there's special series. Toretto Talks was the one that I did with my sister, where we were going through all of the Fast and Furious movies. This week starts the first in a 25-week series called Bonding Time, where my wife and I are watching James Bond movies.
Absolutely.
Starting at the beginning all the way through.
Also, if you
We've got thoughts on Dr. No. We watched it last night.
So if you want to be fucking judgy about my hygiene, then why don't you listen to the most recent Patreon episode?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have to be judgy about it if you weren't fucking gross.
Yeah, you fucking admitted to being just as gross as I am.
I know, because you said you sometimes don't even wash your hands when you shit.
Because I'm shit on my hands.
What the fuck, man? That's fucked. You
I
used
did-
too small a slice. You got the mud pie everywhere.
That fucking... I did play for my girlfriend, and she got quiet.
Yeah, she left.
Yeah.
Fun announcement.
Yeah.
Richard and I are going to be at Fan Expo Toronto.
That's right.
That's at the end of August
24th
24th
to
to 27th. We'll be at the Canadian Podcast Awards booth.
Yeah, baby.
We'll get like actual times in that. We might be involved in other things that weekend, but
Who's
if
to
you
say?
just want to come and say hi, come and do that. We'll post info as we have it about specifically when we'll be at the booth and things like that, but we'll be there. So if you're in and around the Toronto area and you want to go to Fan Expo and you want to hang out with us,
You'll see us at the booth and nothing else.
Yeah. We will not socialize.
Yeah. We won't be doing a signing.
Yeah, you'll have to speak through our people.
Yeah. Which is the Canadian Podcast Award.
Yeah.
Also, we have a whole other podcast, Ghostfacers, a Supernatural rewatch, where we go through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We are into season 7. We're almost at the end of season 7 at this
Crazy.
point.
Really snuck up on us.
We're getting into season 8. We're getting so close to the end of the series.
Yeah, well,
we're just 4 years away.
We're definitely getting close to
4
that.
quick years.
We're definitely getting close to the halfway point of the series.
It's so crazy.
It's so dumb. Why did we do this?
Yeah, so make sure to check us out on there. That is it for this week. Ciao.
Adios.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.